There's a brutal truth most people don't want to hear. Some of the hardest working athletes in the world are broke. Runners, ultra athletes, people pushing their bodies past the breaking point, day after day, mile after mile, not for glory, not for headlines, but because something inside them demands it.
And I don't get it. And
yet, they're barely scraping by. This weekend, someone won the OC Marathon. A few hundred others just kicked off Cocodona 250 miles through the Arizona desert.
For a medal.
And for what? It's actually not a medal. A belt buckle. A little pat on the back.
The heck?
Meanwhile, pro athletes in other sports are chasing million-dollar checks just for showing up to media day. So here's the question we're digging into today.
Some of them don't even sweat like baseball players.
Oh, God. Why is the sport of running something so raw, so demanding, so human, treated like it doesn't matter? And if that changed, would we lose something in the process? Cue that intro music. Welcome back to the Ostrich Running Podcast.
Let's go, I'm back.
Where the miles are long, the paychecks are short, just like the Juice's paycheck. Yeah. He doesn't get paid much on this podcast, but it's okay.
Zero.
The suffering is mostly self-inflicted, just like his. I'm Nick Mraz, host of the Ostrich Running Podcast, and joined with me, as always, Jarett, the Juice Horton.
Let's go, I'm back, baby.
He's back. We missed him.
Yeah,
today we're diving into
without me.
Yeah. Today we're diving into something that's been eating at me lately. We've got runners out there winning marathons, tackling 250 miles sufferfest.
Doesn't make sense to me either.
Like Cocodona. And walking away with barely enough prize money to cover their gels. So we're asking, why is running arguably the most honest, raw, painful sport one of the least paid?
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Should that change? And if it did, would that screw it all up? Well, let's get into some of our current news, right?
Before we talk about that.
Yeah. This last weekend or this past weekend, OC Marathon here in Orange County, California, just took place. 26.2 miles, 3,600 runners. And a local, Xavier Smith, 24, from Lake Forest, he ended up being the overall winner of the marathon with a time of 2 hours and 23 minutes and 41 seconds.
We should interview him.
Well,
because he's young and he's not messed up yet, and he's already doing this to himself. Why?
Man, I have a little story also of how I actually found out about this individual. But the overall female winner,
24, Nick?
You don't want to know. The overall female winner, Stephanie Munt, with a time of 2 hours and 52 minutes and 8 seconds, was the overall female winner. Amazing.
Was she from OC too, you said?
She's from Tempe, Arizona.
Forget her then.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
That's the Juice right there.
No, I'm just kidding.
But you know what? Xavier Smith, it's crazy, right? You've heard of him, right?
No.
You have not?
No, I haven't.
You have not heard of Xavier Smith?
No.
Oh my gosh, man.
Does he play soccer?
Most people have not.
Right.
And let me tell you how I stumbled across this individual.
Yes.
Because I didn't know who he was either. And until I connected with him on Strava, I was looking at the Strava segment leaders of my training run areas and my road area behind my house. I decided to see, hey, what are these times that are people running? Do I have an opportunity to, be the top pace in this segment, right? And I look and I'm seeing all of these areas, and I don't know if this time's exactly right. I'd have to pull it up on my phone, but I see an individual there, and in the segment that I run, the time was It was a sub 5 minute mile.
Are these hills with like ghosts on them?
No, this isn't the big one. This is more the road, the easier where I do some speed training, right?
Okay.
But look, I'm on a good day, a really, really good day for a small little segment of that run. I could probably 6 minute 44 second mile, and I'm pushing it.
So
that's my
like the beginning of your run and the end of his, you guys are running at the same pace, or?
He's still beating me. His overall pace for this win at the OC Marathon, I believe, was 5 minutes and 26 seconds per mile for 26.2 miles. When I saw this individual's time on the segment that I normally run my speed workouts, it was a sub 5 minute mile.
Oh my God.
So I'm not ever taking that top time of that place.
Right.
But I started to follow through, and, I connected with him on Strava and looked at some of his workouts. But
is he a world champion or?
He's an elite runner.
Yeah.
This is his first marathon win, I believe, from what I saw on his post on Strava. But yeah, Xavier Smith, 24 years old, winner of the OC Marathon, a local, which is great to see. But
I really wonder why, at that age, like, why does he run? What is his reason for running?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to me.
And, that's kind of what brought me. I was talking about this with my wife, and I think that's part of the reason why I stopped running marathons, like these road marathons. I looked at these splits, these times of these people. There's no way I will ever win a road marathon.
Is that the point? Just like in your last podcast?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the point. I mean, look, we all play sports because we want to win something, right?
I mean, you don't win in soccer every week that we play, and you still show up.
I win when I see the disgust on this man's face, like, he has to be guarded by me, ultra marathon runner who has no tired bones in his body, and I'm just annoying him. That's a win. Okay, so however he wants to look at it, I'm winning every weekend. But he doesn't play. He's abandoned me, because he's so scared to play against me that he's like, I gotta go.
To play in the Laguna.
Recruited because he's
Elite.
recruited. And what do you do when you're in that league?
What do I do?
Do you want to win?
Yeah, I want to win, but I have the potential to win. I'm like Xavier over here.
Do you have the potential to win? And
we're in first place. We're in first or second right now.
And who is your competition? A lot of famous soccer players?
There are some people that come out from MLS.
Really? And you recognize them?
I don't recognize them. Who watches the MLS?
Well, that's a great point, right? Who watches the MLS?
So if they were all MLS, I better find another reason to run, because that was the point.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
Would you continue? What is your other reason?
Well,
if you're not going to beat Xavier, but you can still run marathons.
Xavier, I'm coming for you. You're 24 years young, and I'm going to be out there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run 2 hours and 22 minutes
I believe you
on the next OC Marathon. I'm coming for you, man. I will never be there.
So you could do 100, reach your goal, and then go back to a marathon.
Yeah, but it's different training, right?
Right.
Speed versus mental. And I think we talked about this with several of our guests, right? The race is no longer against somebody else. I mean, until you get to the elite aspect of it, right? For the middle of the field, the everyday runners, people who have lives or lack thereof because they're obviously have no life when you start training for a marathon, half marathon, ultra marathon, the race is against yourself, right? So I moved from marathons to ultra marathons because I felt like, okay, well, maybe I can get a little bit faster. And then you start seeing some of these 100-mile times of these elite people. Dude, there's no way I'm going to win a 100-mile race.
Well, with certain people in it, you could.
I mean, I'm not going to win a very popular one. Maybe I can compete in a smaller 100-mile race, but there's not too many of those going on.
If you come in dead last running 100, you will still be disappointed, you think?
Hell no.
Right.
That's an accomplishment.
Right. As long as you beat the time.
You come in dead last in your soccer league. Do you still feel satisfied?
No.
No?
I don't.
You feel like you lost? But you
I'm
played
an
a whole
ultra.
season.
Like
You're an elite?
I'm an elite, athlete.
Wow.
So
I don't know
that's
if we have a hat for your big head anymore, but we might try to make some big ones.
The number 7 running podcast.
Number 7 running podcast in the world.
Potentially.
Well, okay, so what do you think?
No, I'm just kidding.
Why
I do get something out of it. I get, I just love playing.
Not sponsored by the feed, but you're on here in case you need us to share your stuff.
I do get something out of it. There's been seasons where we came close to last, and then I don't know. I have personal goals in there.
So the race is still.
Can I still score?
The race is still against yourself.
Yes. Can I still? Yeah.
And do you find
score at this age? Can I still run with the 25-year-olds? Like, can I just compete? Can I still be a player that other players want to play with?
At what age do your goals diminish and dreams that you'll no longer be the elite that you wanted to be in soccer?
I think you have to set fair expectations. Every year, I don't know, I expect some, to slow down a little bit, or they just slowly taper for me.
So,
but I try and keep up. And then I change. I'm always changing my diet.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to get back to what I was the last year. But I know I'll never be like what I was when I was in my 20s.
Well, an interesting thing happens in the ultra community, in the running world. You have stories of people who just started running in their 30s, right?
Yeah.
Years after the dream dies for somebody who's playing soccer, right? Years. And this person ends up becoming an elite athlete.
Right.
An elite level athlete who started in their 30s, and
that's why running is so amazing.
yeah, and they compete and they win. And I think that is what's attractive of this sport, right? You can pretty much be in your prime at a later stage in life.
Yeah, because I think it's more of a mental game, really.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people can't get over that hill to push themselves to 100 miles. You got to be built a little bit different.
And that's where I feel like I changed to ultra marathons, because in a marathon, it's more physical fitness and build and endurance, right? Almost a young man's game.
Right.
For me to try and win, it's kind of scientifically impossible that I could beat my age group at some point, but even some of the people in the age group are just running crazy times. There's 30-year-olds winning these marathons. I feel like I went over to the ultra side because at some point I do like my chances of my mind being the factor.
Right.
I
feel like the longer the distance, so like 100-meter dash is complete athletic ability, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you have to be built a certain way. You have to have good genes. But the further you get away from that, the more you move to your ultras, it's more really your mind.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas a marathon's probably like that middle, where it's a blend of athleticism and mental. But then after that, you got to start having you got to be built a little bit different to push yourself for a whole day. 2 days. 2
days. I mean, like Cocodona, running. 5 days.
Right. That's why you'll see somebody later in life who's been through some things.
Gives you the opportunity, right?
Right.
Yeah, spread over time. And this is still a science experiment altogether in these multiple day events. Mm-hmm. There has not been somebody who's really truly cracked the code.
Right.
Like a Kipchoge of marathons, of training in this 26.2 miles, where this is the pace, this is where I'm pushing my form, my peak ability is here, but they're done after a couple hours, right? Can I get the body to perform in its peak ability for 3 hours or less? Ultra marathons, this stuff is just being, and I'm talking multi-day ultra marathons events. People are trying to figure out, how do I tackle sleep? How long can I go without sleep and still be performing well? How much can I sleep without losing enough traction on the race and having distance put in. It's such a psychological planning.
And you're going to, from talking to you, because I haven't done it, it seems like you hit a different wall.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to run into something that you didn't run into before.
And multiple times, too.
Right. Multiple times.
Your stomach's going to be jacked up. Your legs are going to be cramping. The weather's going to change over 5 days.
Like buff runner. Like, you know, you have everything planned out, and then he had that injury.
Yeah. And he, you know, we're going to be talking to him again, and I can't wait to get the recap on what his mindset was like. Especially, you have a multi-day distance, right? And the first 50 miles, you have an injury.
Right.
And the only thing you can tell yourself is, well, I have 400 more miles of this, or I have 200 more miles of this. What does that do to the mind?
Yeah. How do you push yourself through that? I don't care how much you trained.
Yeah. And these people have amazing stories.
And they're not running on, you guys aren't running on like paved perfect roads.
No, this is climbing. This is in the elements.
Right.
It is incredible. It's exciting to watch post race, to hear the stories after, to get it in a snippet, right? You have to really be into this sport to have an appreciation for what it is that they're going through, it, especially if you attempted these distances on your own, and to see what they're accomplishing, because you're superhuman at that point,
right?
You know? So I wonder, you know, we look at this whole sport, and the feats that they are accomplishing is something that is so hard to comprehend. Why is it that these athletes are so underpaid?
That is the biggest question to me, with how much money is in this sport.
It is insane. Right. So, you know, we've pulled up a couple stats, right? If we're looking at the average salary of athletes in a sport, NBA tops that by, so let's see, it has, the NBA is about an average salary of $8.5 million a year, followed by the NFL, $2.7 million, baseball, $4.5 million, NHL, $3.5 million. Your area, European Soccer Premier League, anywhere 3 to 7 million plus. Golf and tennis, the top 50, 1 million to 10 million plus prize earnings and endorsements.
Is not the most entertaining sport ever either.
And I think that would be a comparison. And this is, again, nothing against ultra running and endurance, solely just by entertainment factor, right? For anybody who is not aware of the sport, who hasn't really watched it, I'd say I'd rank basketball and football as very exciting, right? Fast paced. Oh my gosh, look at this. I don't have to know anything.
Every play,
everything's happening. The score's changing, overtime, even hockey. It gets, you know, it gets in that realm, right? But you take golf. I remember being a kid and hearing that announcer, Tiger Woods coming up to the green of 16, Augusta. Here we are.
It's pretty good.
He swings back. Oh, wow. What a beautiful drive. And that would put me to sleep as a kid. As soon as I would sit in and my dad was watching that early in the Sunday mornings, I'd be out.
Yeah.
It's just something about that voice, that announcer's voice just...
If you don't play and you don't understand everything, it's got to be the most...
boring.
Right. Boring
And
thing.
I appreciate golf. Right. I've played golf.
I love to play golf.
Insane sport. What they are doing, incredible.
Right. Very entertaining at the end.
I am watching these live streams of these big races, and I would go ahead and say that it's very similar to the excitement factor.
Right.
I will watch it because I'm interested in the sport. I care about it.
Participate.
I'm not watching the entire time. Right. These things are streaming 24/7 for the remainder of the race.
Right.
We talked about how do we bring more eyes to... Well, I guess let me backtrack a little bit.
Well, and I have a question for you. I want to know, why does cycling work? Like, why do so many people participate in that sport and watch it?
Yeah.
Seems like.
So if I'm looking at this as kind of a case study from school, right? What would be the excitement factor that draws cycling? And I'd have to say it's probably a staple of its fan base. It has multiple years and generations of fans, participants that really enjoy these big cycling races, right? Yeah. I wouldn't say that the viewership competes with NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, and even baseball. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of baseball, and I love baseball, and I can sit there and watch that boring game all day, but I understand the subtleties of the game, of what a pitcher's doing, what the shift's happening, where they're at in the multiple days of the series, right? I think I appreciate it, and I could watch it all day. Mm-hmm. Most people hate baseball until it's playoff time. Yeah. Most people of any sport really don't watch until the playoffs unless you're a true fan of the sport. Right? There's no one single race that's a playoff. There's race season in running. There's different big races
where all the elites show up.
All the elites show up, and there's big popular races that will give you, if you win that race, it gives you a straight entry to this next big race.
Okay.
That's what people are kind of competing for.
I see you wrote down that Boston Marathon winner won $150,000.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know how true that number is because that seems so high, right?
But I mean, even that's crazy.
That's nothing.
Like you won the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
It's $150,000.
Yeah.
And it's probably just the endorsements you got from it.
Yeah. Well, and there usually is, that I've noticed in these road marathons, there's usually a little purse at the end, right? Mm-hmm. Anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 in prizes. But ultra marathons, trail running is specifically purse free. Nobody gets, even on these huge races, nobody is getting anything. Now, a lot of these
are the most disrespect.
It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. So the vast majority of elite runners, they do not have salaried contracts as an athlete in itself, right? They live off bonuses, appearance fees, which are rare. Brand sponsorships are where they're really making a ton of money. And when I say a ton, it's, they still have part-time jobs,
right?
Most of these big runners who are on Olympic 24-hour teams are driving trucks for UPS. Shout out Ultra Jake Jackson, amazing individual, amazing ambassador for the sport. I've met him a few times. He drives semi trucks, but he will race for the Olympic 24-hour team. He is
how old is he?
He's in his 40s.
Okay.
And super nice individual. Everybody who listens to this, I'm sure, is aware of Andrew Glaze, firefighter, runs all these big races, no sponsorship.
Right.
Goes through Hokas a couple times a month and not one brand deal.
Right.
But I'm sure he's out there convinced millions of people to try Hoka, especially if they're coming into this sport. These are ambassadors to this sport.
And how much money does Hoka make? I think you had for that.
So
or like the shoe.
I mean, if we look at okay, so if we break this down to sports leagues' annual revenue, right? Mm-hmm. Just to put it in perspective, right? Of course, we said the highest paid athletes, NFL. We're in America. That's the popular sport, right? Approximately a $20 billion a year, and this is in 2023. I'm sure it's increased significantly, but $20 billion a year revenue, annual revenue. Major League Baseball, $12.1 billion. Basketball, $13 billion. Premier League for soccer, $7 billion euro. A little bit more than hockey, which is at $6.6 billion. As of this last year,
right?
Very significant numbers, right? You would sit there and say, yeah, that's a big market, right? I'm sure that's ticket sales, jersey sales,
like
TV rates.
Chess players make more than ultra runners. Like,
is there? You follow chess, so
I mean, I don't. I follow like Magnus Carlsen and some of those guys, and I know they're millionaires.
Really?
Yeah, they're millionaires. I'm pretty sure. But they make money through YouTube. They make money through so many different avenues.
And that's what I'm seeing with these ultra runners, right? Monetizing coaching plans, their content. You've forced an ultra athlete to become a content creator.
Right.
In order for them to pay their bills and sponsorship. But you have to win these races. Yeah, so there's not many people winning these races. Yeah, you had to at least won something, right? You look at Max Joe Life winning Moab 240, and that's propelled him into, an opportunity to create a brand, meet other big time elite runners who were inspirations to a lot of us who have brought us into this world, right? Their documentaries that we've seen. He's there, but man.
You know what I would do? I would come out with a shoe that has no name on it. Super premium shoe. Mm-hmm. And it would be the no name shoe.
Okay.
Just so that nobody has to wear Hokas, Nikes, or anybody's shoe until they start giving away some of this money that they're making. I think you're about to get into the numbers about how much money is made off running shoe in the running shoe market.
And it's free marketing for them. These athletes, these incredible people are posting, this is what my gear is. And it is free marketing for all of these companies. And now let's break it down a little bit. The running shoe market, as of last year, $51.3 billion of global market size revenue.
That's great.
$51.3 billion. Wow. Double, just the shoe market, double the amount of the NFL makes in its revenue.
Right.
Running gear, water bottles, vests, hats, sunglasses, whatever, all that, apparel and accessories, $23.4 billion still beats the NFL revenue of last year.
Wow.
Running apparel market, $15.2 billion and expected to grow to $25 billion by the end of 2033. Almost double in size in the next 8 years. And here we are with athletes that we can't even put a finger on and pay. What are we doing?
Yeah. They can't even live off running.
They can't live off running, yet these big companies are making billions. So I think that's a good point, right? I think that is a good point. Like you do have an idea for a shoe that is a no name. Yeah. You go out here and you say, look, athlete A, B, or C, forget all of this stuff. This shoe is not going to give you whatever speed performance you want, but it is a great shoe. It's going to do everything that these other shoes do. Right. It works with your foot. Do this. Start winning these races in my no-name gear because I'm trying to give you an opportunity to sell to the Nikes, to the Hokas.
And if I was rich, I would do this, and all the money would go back into racing somehow.
Yeah. Would you? Okay, so
the majority of it would go back, and it's just like,
how would you market this shoe?
I mean, I would just tell all the runners, like, let's start. If I was part of the running community, I would be like, we're all going to start running in this no-name brand because these are the numbers that these companies are making, and they're not giving anything back.
Yeah, not like I can't even thinking of Hoka. I mean, I know that they have their individuals. I mean, if we look up and we see who is sponsored by Hoka and what are their contracts look like, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Carl Meltzer, yep, big time.
What are they, ultra runners?
Yeah, ultra runners. So yeah, run outside, Hoka athletes. Well, what does their payment look like? What does their contract look like? We're going to give you free shoes. Yeah, we're going to do a documentary about you.
It better be more than that.
I mean,
and it's like a trail down effect. It's like these guys are running in them, and then it's like it carries all the way down to just the everyday runner, where now people are just walking in Hokas.
Yeah. So we have all of these runners. Jim Walmsley, he's insane, super fast, really great runner.
We need to look up on chat, like, how much does he make?
Yeah. I mean, how much In the meantime, what are your thoughts on that?
What?
On how we should pay these athletes. Like what
I don't know.
kickback
To be
should
fair,
they give?
also, I think somehow we got to make this sport entertaining so that it gets more views, or,
I think you're right. And that's the, that's kind of what I was going down earlier. The entertainment factor, right?
Right.
People are going to run either way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's technically selling itself.
Well, this is a question I have. Why aren't more of the everyday... Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and what we're reacting to right now is the details of Jim Walmsley's sponsorship with Hoka. It hasn't been publicly disclosed, but according to ChatGPT, the available information suggests that his earnings from Hoka include performance bonuses, and they likely fall within the range of $100,000 to $200,000 annually. For instance, a discussion on Let'sRun.com mentioned a rumored $200,000 bonus from Hoka for his course record at the Western States 100. In addition to sponsorship earnings, Walmsley also received prize money from races, notably UTMB, which its winner prize is about 20,000 euro or 21,500 US dollars. Despite these earnings, it's important to note that the professional ultra runners like Walmsley often have relatively modest incomes, which we know.
Yeah.
A 6-figure sponsorship is the biggest sponsorship.
And he set a record.
And he set a world record. And he continues to crush. And I continue to follow his post, his media, and watch him run. And things that I purchase off him are probably showcased in there because, if I want to run fast like Jim Walmsley, I better get some Hoka shoes, right?
And how much is Hoka worth? Who knows?
How much is Hoka worth? Are they? And they're their own, right?
They're owned by... What's that other company called? The ones that they're from, like the Australia, like the high boot one.
UGG.
Yeah.
UGG owns Hoka, or
UGG owns Hoka.
They bought them out.
Right. Deckers
Outdoor Corporation.
And they own both. So it might be hard to.
So $2.2 billion revenue from. Okay, the surge significantly contributed to Deckers' overall performance. So. Just Hoka alone is a $2 billion a year company. I sneezed. Excuse me.
God.
That's insane, though.
That is insane. And he's getting $100,000 of that.
So what does that mean? What does that mean for the sport itself? What does that tell us? That it's not exciting?
I guess.
Everybody's doing it.
Right. Everybody's doing it.
It's pretty exciting.
Why don't they care about what ultra runners are doing? Like, why doesn't the everyday runner?
Yeah.
Do you know how many followers he has? This guy?
Let's see here. I mean, if I look on, I'm following him on here. Gosh, it's got to be. What's your guess?
200,000, 300,000.
You think 200,000? Okay.
From there to 1 million.
You think 200,000 to?
Well, I say three. Let's say 300 to 400,000 people.
256,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah, and he's setting records. So why doesn't the everyday runner care about?
You have to be into this sport, right? You have to really care about it.
And then people that follow like LeBron don't even play.
That's a very good point. People who follow Messi, who don't even play, who are wearing Messi jerseys. How to play
soccer.
Yeah, but they're like, I'll put on this Messi jersey,
right?
An Mbappe jersey. Right. I'll do all this. And how many times have you played soccer? I don't. I just watch this.
I have no idea.
Why is it so exciting?
Much disrespect.
And I think it comes down to the excitement level, right? You don't often have neck to neck races on these longer.
Right.
It's still a race within the person, even though they're an elite runner racing other elite runners. I think you can have good days and bad days for these elite runners. Some days your stomach just feels like crap, even as an elite runner.
Sport.
But you're beating that person. You know, we'll see what happens with some of the favorites out of Cocodona, right? Weather. Somebody can get sick. Somebody could slip and fall and twist your ankle.
Right.
And then a whole new person that we never even thought of comes in because they were just cruising along, middle of the pack. Their body was working the way it should have on this specific day, and they go and they win it. Mm-hmm. But it's very rare that you're seeing a neck-to-neck sprint down to the finish of a 250-mile race.
So in golf is the same way?
Yep. You could be done. You could be the winner, you know, the whole time, and that's it.
That's it.
You're just waiting for the rest of the tour to finish up their golf, and then there's the winner. Yeah, you won. Okay, perfect. But where does the excitement level? And I discussed this in my reflections.
Maybe we'd have to make it more of an obstacle course.
Like a Spartan race. But then what's that?
It's not the same.
It's not. So there's that one race that's being very popular. It's like a Spartan race now. Yeah. What is it called?
Yeah, I don't know, but
it's oh Lord, this is okay.
That's why we have the computer.
Yeah, there's a race that even that's not exciting to watch, man.
Really?
I mean, I'm not saying.
Isn't that on ESPN
here
when they're doing those races where they're jumping over things and
what do they call it? Like fit CrossFit, right? Like CrossFit Games, right? Races like CrossFit.
Is it Spartan?
It's like Spartan. Yeah, High Rocks. Here it is. Okay.
I haven't seen that.
So this is the new sport that's really, really coming in and showing like with crazy endurance sports, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, man.
But that's what I'm thinking. Someone needs to come up with some type of algorithm or something where, like, the more everybody runs in this shoe, maybe like the top athletes get paid more money.
Yeah, that's your crazy idea.
Yeah.
I the way I can comprehend it is you're mining for crypto through your shoe. And the way you mine for it is the amount of miles you put on your shoe.
But I was almost thinking like maybe even the more elite runners are actually like money's going towards them. I don't know.
Yeah. It's still a drop in the bucket.
The original idea I had is every time, and someone out there is probably going to try and do this, is every time you run, you actually get paid in this shoe.
Yeah. And maybe it comes down to a movement of these elite athletes itself, right? What if they decide to boycott all of these major brands until
I would. Until
they get paid a proper amount. But here's the question, right? What if all these elite runners stop promoting all of these brands? Do they still sell shoes?
Yeah, that's the problem. You probably still you would probably still go out and buy.
I don't wear Hokas, but I'd buy the Brooks that I wear.
Right. What made you buy Brooks?
I bought Hokas because every influencer and everybody that was online that I saw in documentaries and sponsorship had Hoka. So I went and I bought Hoka. And every time I completed, and this is just for me, this isn't anybody, like I'm not knocking Hoka.
Right.
I'm not knocking anything. I just kept losing damn toenails, you know, and then I started to just really look at what's happening. Why am I losing so many toenails? And I realized that I just wasn't a fan of the toe box. And
the toe box?
Yeah, the toe box. My feet just kept banging and losing toenails. It's just the way my feet.
Toe box?
So the area that your toes are in. Yeah. Uh-huh. It's just the way my feet are. God's giving me my feet, right? They're just wide, long. Just Hoka doesn't necessarily work for me. So I was just trying different shoes. Then I tried Brooks and I really enjoyed Brooks. And I feel like after that, I used a trail shoe that they had and my toenails were fine. Mm-hmm. And I felt like yeah, I'm okay with this. I'm not losing toenails. I found a specific problem that I had with a shoe, and I looked for an alternative approach that would fix that problem. It just so happened to be Brooks. Now I run in Brooks road and trail shoes.
You know what I'm thinking, just with us talking about this right now? It's not the elite runners that are maybe the influencers. It's just the person in front of you when you're running. Like, who's ever faster than you, what are they running? And it all trickles down from the elite runners, maybe. Yeah. But when I'm running, I'm just looking at, wow, who's faster than me? Yeah. When I'm running the weekend warrior runners, you know? Like, you're Nick is my inspiration. Like, I would go to you. I wouldn't even look at the elite runners. I would just look at you and say, Nick, what shoe are you running? Because you're better at running than I am.
That is very true.
You know?
I'm sure run clubs, everybody has input at these races. I think you're right. You nailed it. At some of my first ultra marathons, I'm out there towing the line, and I'm asking people, you know, you get to know the vibe of the start line. Is this your first ultra? Yeah. What's the furthest you've done? Oh, I've done this distance. Oh, I've done this distance. This is my first time. I've done this race 20 times. Right. Oh, wow. Let's talk a little bit. And you gravitate to the people who've had more experience. So you are correct, because I can't go talk to Jim Walmsley directly and say, hey, what kind of shoe do you use? What do you do here? He's right. out of my realm. Right. But the dad who's 40 years old with 2 kids, who says he's ran this race 50 times at a certain time, and I look at that and say, oh wow, that's impressive. Right. So what do you usually do for training? We'll run and talk. What shoes are you wearing? You like this? Okay, yeah, I like that. And I'll keep that in the back of my mind. Right. And I will maybe go down a research point in what they said or suggested, right? I did also learn with some years of running, right, that every piece of advice doesn't mean it's the right advice. So I've taken advice from people in marathons and ultra marathons, puked, blew my legs out before the race even ended, and was just exhausted, right? Because I was running off somebody else's tips rather than what I've learned on my own. So your own body is different. Your own journey is different. What you can handle is different from other people. If you do have an elite level goal, yeah, there's a commonality between what you should be able to accomplish, right? But if you're just, you gravitate to the individual's goals that are similar to yours.
And I think that's actually happening in all sports, because I remember Messi used to have his own shoe every year. And then there were some years where he just didn't have it anymore. I think more people, like, it's the whole influencer movement is maybe another. Yeah. And that's always maybe been happening with runners.
Yeah. And it's just tough, you know, starting ostrich running. It's a huge investment. Yeah. It's a huge capital investment, especially if you're an individual trying to do it on your own. If you want to make running shoes, dude, man, good luck. Right. You have to have money already to start that, right? Right. And that's why I love this brand. I'm not out here. I'm not a rich person. I don't come from a bunch of money, and I'm not saying that the people who start it come from a bunch of money, right? I just want to see what I can do and start this thing from the ground up. Whatever I make from what I'm making now from this movement, it goes straight back into the brand to try to create something new, trying to create something else that would help solve a problem within this community and have other individuals be on board for this. But for me to start out and say, I want a shoe, I want a hat, I want tights, I want a vest, I want this or that, I have to pull out a crazy loan. And it's not that I don't believe in myself. I just want to, the challenge for me with this company is an ultra in sense of the business, right? I want to grind this thing out mile for mile, day after day, out of my own pocket, making my own like living off it and pushing it to expand into deeper audiences.
Do you think that when you get ostrich running off the ground even more,
Mm-hmm.
if you were able to sponsor an elite runner, would it have a trickle down effect?
I believe so. I've thought about this. And I've also thought about, I think about a lot in the growth of this company and the visions that I have to steward this company, right? And I think a lot of it goes back to my time in the military, right? Mm-hmm. Take care of your people, and you will always have the best results for what it is. And I've heard it time and time again from other CEOs. Take care of your people, foster an environment where ideas can help grow, and you value each of your employees' ideas as if they are an entrepreneur in their own sense, right? I would do the same thing as an athlete. Like if I sponsor an athlete, right, I would see them as an employee. Right. So I wouldn't just say, hey, post my shoe, you get 10% off and you get some of this, right, sales, right? It's like, it's tough. I get it, because you have to be able to manage finances and how you grow and how you spend money. But I would look at an athlete in an ideal world, I would look at this athlete as an employee of mine, and somebody who has a stakehold within the company, because they're helping me build it. Right. I can't afford any of these athletes because everybody's looking for some sort of money, right? And because they have to live. Right. But I will gladly take away profit to just keep the idea of it running, smoothly on its own. Right. And if this means that this athlete believes in ostrich running and doing the things for that, they're an employee to me. And I want to take care of my employees. Mm-hmm. I want them to have the best gear, have the best training, have the best opportunity to be a professional runner, and not worry about their bills. Right. They have families, right? Right? Give me the best performance you can. Give me the best feedback that you can. So yes, I would like to take care of, in the future, when I have the ability to sponsor an athlete. But as of right now, I'm community backed. Everybody that I've reached out to, you inspire me in your own way. And what I can give back at this moment is just the support, mm-hmm, a pat on the back, just like a lot of these. But I'm not Hoka. Mm-hmm. The fact that Hoka is giving people a pat on the back is insane. Right. It's greed. Right. But there's a bottom line that they have to fill. So I get it from the business aspect. Right. But that's where I feel like a smaller grassroots brand could be the route. Do you think, even if these elite runners are not generating, like say you give an elite runner $1 million because you're Hoka and you're generating $4 billion in sales, but you didn't notice an uptick in your sales, do you think you would stop as ostrich running? Like, would you stop paying? So if that kind of makes sense. If I had, let's say, Jarett, you are my elite athlete, my elite ultra marathon winning athlete, right? You have a family and kids, you have a mortgage, bills that you need to pay. Yeah. Are you asking me, am I signing a multi-year contract? $1 million? Yeah. Would you just give me $1 million even though I'm not going to generate an extra $1 million in sales for you? Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Say you came from a point where you were training and doing all this stuff that you were doing, right? And you were also working a $65,000 a year job in addition to that to pay all your bills. Mm-hmm. But I come to you and I say, for the next 4 years, I'm going to pay you $250,000 a year. This is your sole job. Just train. Do you believe that $250,000 a year, so $190,000 a year annual raise, is significant? Yeah, I do. Do you think that is a 4-year contract where I say, okay, the next 4 years, I just want you to give me your all, right? And then we'll readdress after. Is it wrong for me to not renew that contract for another $1 million if I didn't see any uptick? No, if you don't see an uptick in your business, that's business, right? But at least I supported them for 4 years as an employee and treated them the way that I felt like their value was, right? Right. So can you blame Hoka if, like, we're selling tons of shoes? Why am I sponsoring elite athletes if it's not bringing me more revenue? No, I don't. I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. But they also have. This is the thing of being a huge company, right? You have a bottom line and stakeholders that you have to really give. You have to pay your stakeholders. You have to give them a return on your investment, right? That's kind of why I want to build this thing organically without loans or anything. I just want to be able to build it, right? What I also would do, though, and I didn't really discuss it when I said an employee is somebody that you value and their ideas. But in addition to that, if you're an employee, I am looking out for my employee and the betterment of their life. They need to be growing when they're with me, and not just growing my bank account, my revenue. They need to be growing as a person, right? So while I'm sitting there saying, Jarett, we have a 4-year contract, $1 million contract. Yes, you're running your training, but you and I are also going to maybe talk about how could you monetize yourself and promote yourself. I wouldn't lock you into just one contract of ostrich running. Yes, there would probably be clauses where you can't be with a competitor, something like that. But maybe we talk about business. How do you sustain yourself as a brand? How do we help you? So when you leave ostrich running, you're set up for success with your own brand and image, right? So where knowledge is power outside of just running, it would be like the NFL, right? The NFL Players Association, right? Most of these people are part of this association, and they're like a big brother to these people who are getting signed in, and giving them advice like, hey, your finances need to be here. Watch who you hang out with. Be careful that you don't do this. Hey, we're going to look out for you here. We're going to get you better pay here, better pay there. It's always setting up for longevity of an athlete. So I would love to see somebody leave my brand for that $1 million 4-year contract and go sign a $20 million contract.
Right.
You know, if I help them say, as Jarett, the sponsored athlete, I helped grow ostrich running from, this much in sales to when I got signed, I showed this return because I was sponsored.
Right.
Well, then you're showing value, and I'm helping you show your value as an individual athlete and marketing you to even bigger people.
Right.
And I would love to see that person, I would love for ostrich to be a stepping stone, right?
Would you keep sponsoring athletes even though you're selling shoes without sponsoring athletes?
Say that again.
Would you keep sponsoring athletes, paying this $1 million for 4 years or whatever you decide, if, like Hoka, you're selling shoes without sponsoring? Like, they're just selling themselves because you make good running shoes.
Yes.
Why?
Because it goes back to what we talk about. You got to give back to the community. You can't, at some point, greed and the bottom line, you come into a fork in the road, right? Do you want to take care of the people that you want to take care of? Do you want to grow into $1 billion, brand, or do you want to just stay a $5 to $10 million a year brand? I'd be okay with, I just want to be able to do what I love, help other people out, create something that others can be a part of. Obviously from what I've noticed in the world of business, everybody's looking for an exit, right? And a return on their initial money that they put in. Right. If I continue to not put any money in and just let it grow on its own, I don't have to look for an exit.
Well, you're right. You're putting money in to making different colorways on your shoes.
I'm just recycling the revenue that was generated to continue to let this thing flow.
Yeah.
And talk to me when we're at 25 million a year.
Yeah.
I would like to say, dude, I'm looking for longevity. I'm looking for that write-up in Entrepreneur Magazine, right? Where this company cares about its employees and its ideas and it's this and that. You come here, you grow as a person, you leave different. And I don't think that should only be to its employees who work on marketing, product testing, product development, web design, social media. That also includes its advertisers, which would be sponsored athletes, right? Mm-hmm. I think you take care of everybody in that aspect, but
yeah, I just think my question is, I'm trying to think of why doesn't Hoka do the 4 years?
It's too expensive.
But you have the money.
But do they really?
I mean, it looks like if they did.
It looks like it. Well, revenue and I mean, you as an entrepreneur know. Everybody will say, oh, you own your own business. You must be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, all of that money that you make as a business owner, in order for you to continue to have this dream grow and expand, it all goes right back into the business, right? Well, so at the end of the day,
their revenue doubled.
Yeah, but did their revenue doubled, but did their costs, their expenses double? What else does that look like?
It's just, you guys are worth billions and you're giving out $100,000.
It's jacked up, dude.
Elite runners.
It's jacked up, man.
Yeah.
At least
we're not even talking about Nike. Like,
does Nike pay pretty well for its sponsorships?
With its, I mean, for the
with
basketball
its big ones, right? I mean,
and I don't see anybody in LeBron shoes. I see everybody wearing Hokas.
even basketball players.
Right. Yeah. Only basketball players wear LeBron shoes.
Look, and from a business aspect, dude, if it's selling itself, what do I need anybody else for?
Yeah.
And that might be...
That kind of pisses me off when I said that. Like, nobody's walking around in LeBron shoes. Everybody's wearing Hoka or comfortable walking shoes.
Nurses, runners,
right.
Basketball
Everybody
players, people at the
Hokas,
gym.
And it's all a trickle-down effect from you ultras.
Yeah.
Like,
built
you guys were probably the
them.
first ones that they designed these shoes for, or marathon runners, and they were so comfortable for you guys that it has just trickled all the way down to like.
They're like, if this is good enough for a person to run 100 miles in a single day on, I'll walk around my freaking neighborhood.
Yeah, it just went down, and then the marathon runners were like, well, it's good for them, so I'll try this.
Yeah.
And then it went down. Oh, I see a marathon runner winning in Hokas.
Yeah.
I'm going to run my freaking 5K.
Yep.
Then next thing you know, I'm walking around in them.
Yeah.
It's jacked up.
It's so messed up, dude.
It's messed up. Nobody. You point me one person today. That's a challenge for everybody out there. Take pictures and send it to Ostrich if you see anyone wearing a LeBron shoes. Send it.
Who is a runner?
Not even who is a runner, just walking around.
Just walking around.
I'll take 100 pictures of Hokas or all these running shoes on my way outside. And they don't run. They don't even run.
Yeah. Is that a... Gosh.
Why are they paying? He got $1 billion contract, a life contract. $billion.
LeBron?
Yeah.
Jim Walmsley got $200,000.
$200,000. There needs to be a movement in the runner community to wear shoes with no branding.
It's
until you get paid a certain amount.
Yeah. I think, let's say we do start paying these athletes what they deserve. What do you think that does?
How do you quantify that, though?
I mean, you're right. How do you quantify it?
Because you don't have a stadium full of people.
How you quantify it is...
If an ultra runner...
You boycott it.
Yeah. But
and then
ultra,
you see...
Like an ultra runner who walks down the street right now, he doesn't have any influence, I guess. No branding influence. No one knows him.
Yeah. I mean, there's people... When I first got into this, right, I didn't know half of these people. I still don't even know half the people in the space, and I'm sorry, you know. It's not that I don't, like, I just have a lot, you know. I know I like running and what the aspect of running is, and as I slowly get more immersed into this, I know, like, the standard stories of these huge names, right? Probably more so than what you would know because you're not immersed in it, but this is what's crazy to me is there are a lot of people at these races that I've ran next to. Like when I first met Jake Jackson at the 50 miler, right? I remember the only reason why I found out about him was because I saw him run past me, and he was part of like the shorter race that started after me. And he's like running up, and you know what he says? You guys are crushing it. Great job. Keep killing it out there, man. You guys got this. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy just crushing me right now? And he's so damn nice, right?
Yeah.
But that guy, that's genuinely who he is. I looked and I looked at race results. And I'm like, okay, that's the guy who won. Oh, that was the dude who passed me. Jake Jackson. Go to Instagram. Okay, Ultra Jake Jackson. Here he is. He's so kind that he even responds to my messages from Ostrich, right? And he's engaging with everybody on there. And he's such a great ambassador. He's sponsored by Runner, Squirrel's Nut Butter, all these other brands he's sponsored by. He's just a great ambassador for the sport. He was on the Olympic 24-hour team. And then I see his post of driving the UPS truck, kids, everything. And this man goes out there and does it day in and day out. But where is that guy's?
We got to change this. Ostrich has got to change all that.
Help me sponsor these everyday athletes who deserve. I mean, these guys work so freaking hard, man. And they give so much to the community, so much to the running world, like for no thanks.
One more question. That black veteran that is the motivational speakers, I mean, he was super fat and then got skinny.
David Goggins?
Yeah. What about him? Because he has tons of brand. That something else.
It's, it's
almost like
I'm going to say, well, and there's I would say there's a lot of love, hate for that person. A lot of people in the community, the veteran community don't like him because or like the SEAL community because he's written books that capitalize off his experience as a SEAL, right? I don't care. You got a story. Sell it. Make your brand. Make your money. He brought in so much recruitment for the special warfare community. He's also unapologetically real. Vulgar mouth. Says, things like just get at, like pushes you, right? So there's a part of people who are like, listen to your body, don't kill yourself doing this stuff. But he's like, just kill yourself doing this shit. Right. So, it's love, hate, but he's definitely motivational, right?
So maybe that's what Ostrich needs to do is tell the stories. I mean,
and that's what I'm hoping to do. That's how this is going to start, right? I sponsor
you, but I also, like you were saying earlier, I blow you up.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the purpose that this podcast why I started this podcast, because I've chatted with people on races. I've seen some of these stories and I'm blown away. Dude, you went through what? You weighed how much? You had this, you did that, and you still ran this. It's insane. And nobody's looking at it. These stories happen every single day. People are incredible. And I think
they're running for good reasons.
Yeah. I think that they deserve a platform. I think they deserve love from the community. I look at it like a collective, right? The only way we can self-sustain and help everyone out is by collectively coming together and supporting indie brands, small brands, hoping that these small indie brands take care of the people who brought them to a certain aspect, right? But it's, running businesses is tough. Yeah, you're going to piss people off as you grow. You're going to have to make budget cuts and you're going to have to pay people crappy amounts. I would, I wouldn't say crappy amounts, but like maybe the deals still aren't. I can't sponsor you as an athlete because as I grew to get you to this sponsorship, my cost increased.
When do I get my 4-year $1 million deal?
Your deal's coming up soon. I hope it's, I don't want to allude to that one yet because it's a surprise in itself, but yeah.
I don't want to be surprised. We can sign in right now.
Surprise. So yeah, man, I mean,
stole my catchphrase.
That's trademark already. You hear me talk about taking care of our athletes, but yet I just built it on the back of this man's free labor. Thank you, Juice.
Oh my God. That's not a good choice of words.
Yeah. There. Well,
All right. So I think that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Why aren't you following elite runners?
Yeah. What's not exciting about the sport?
How do we make it more exciting?
How do we make it more exciting? How do we help the indie brands of the world? Should these big companies
pay more?
Should they be liable? Not liable, but like beholden to taking care of a certain amount of athletes because of their
not right.
Something is not right.
When I get my contract from you, I'm releasing my app where every step that you take, you're getting a certain amount of money.
Every step you take.
Okay, this is when
every move you make, I'll be watching you.
Idea. Or a really good
Are you doing
idea.
the P. Diddy version though?
What? I have no association with P. Diddy. I do not know him. I have nothing to do.
We appreciate your support. Yes. Really grateful for the community that has shown love to Ostrich Running, all of our previous guests, all of our future guests. You guys make this happen. I cannot wait to share everybody's story.
Run
Continue to...
You get paid every mile. No,
disclaimer.
Every step.
Disclaimer, that is not created yet. This is just a thought and
We're
idea.
giving back to the athletes today. Nick's sending out money. It's happening. I'm announcing it right here on the show.
You make
every step you take in Ostrich.
You make 1% of profits that I make, and 1 times 0 is 0.
Way more than 1%. We're declaring it right now on this podcast, on this show, that if you run an Ostrich hat, you get paid.
Cue that outro music.
I'm not getting paid.
Thank you. This has been the Ostrich Running Podcast.